Marriage is a full-length mirror. Your spouse is walking around all day reflecting you. When you are single, you never have to answer the question, what's wrong with me? Everybody has asked themselves that question at some point in their life. What is wrong with me? Why do I keep doing that? But for a single person, this happens for you in community, what I'm about to say. For a married person, this happens with your spouse. So it's not that if you're single, this doesn't happen for you. It happens for you in community. It happens in a marriage with the individual spouse. Yeah. But what happens is your spouse becomes a full-length mirror. My wife is me outside of me, looking back at me, talking to me about me. Single, I never have to answer the question, why am I like this? Or why do I keep doing this? Married, you outside of you, now looking back at you, talking to you about you, go, why do you keep doing that? And you can no longer run from yourself. Because that's not your spouse who is a different whole person asking you this question. This is actually you asking you this question and not resting until you finally give you an answer.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful statement. I want to play it back real quick. That way we can dissect it, but I wanted to at least hear the full context of the message from this content creator. But it sounds pretty cool, man. I'm gonna play it right back, and we're gonna pause in between. That way we can kind of dissect it.
Marriage is a full-length mirror. Your spouse is walking around all day reflecting you. When you
right. So it's interesting, there's this thing called a personal brand, right? And that just, who you are. When people see you, what do they see, right? Do they see an honest person? Do they see a person with integrity? Do they see a person who cares about their look? Blase, blase, right? You are a personal brand. Same thing like Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A. There's three things I know for sure about Chick-fil-A and their brand. I've never had a burnt chicken sandwich, right? I've always had great customer service. And lastly, their stores are immaculate, right? They're super clean. I'm sure there's a Chick-fil-A somewhere that's burnt somebody's chicken sandwich, that's pissed somebody off in their stores or wasn't clean, right? But I've never experienced that. So my interpretation to that brand is those three things. Food is always, cooked fresh. The service is on point, my pleasure. And then just the cleanliness of the environment of their stores. And so for me in my head, that represents the brand of that particular company. And we can go down the line, but that's the example. And so, when you look at not only yourself, but now you're together with your spouse, what do y'all brand represent? So no matter if somebody sees you in the public, it's no longer just you, it's y'all. And vice versa, if you see your spouse or your wife out in the public, and somebody sees them, that reflects back to you because you both are now an extension of each other. And so that's something to truly recognize that, you guys are a mirror of each other. You reflect each other now at this stage, not just individually. So that's something to really think about when it comes to, what does y'all's brand look like in public? So that's something to consider. We're going to keep it going.
You are single, you never have to answer the question, what's wrong with me? Everybody has asked themselves that question at some point in their life. What is wrong with me? Why do I keep doing that? But for a single person, this happens for you in community, what I'm about to say. For a married person, this happens with your spouse.
Right. So perfect. That's what I said. So when it's just you, do people look at you like, man, I can't trust this person. He's a liar. They don't keep their word. Or is it, man, this person great with integrity. They're honest. They show up on time. They're punctual. You know what I mean? So, again, there's a lot of different things you can put on top of that positive or negative to represent your individual brand. But again, when you together with your spouse, what do they see? So that's something that you guys, I know it's funny, like, a lot of times me and my wife, we may go visit friends or something. It was one time we was like, I wonder what people think about us. You know what I mean? Just what we, how do we think we're being perceived, which we don't know. We've never asked any of our friends, but it would be interesting. And I'm sure that maybe some other couples like, I wonder how, they see us or whatever. So it's just an interesting thing. Maybe we should ask. Who knows? Maybe they'll be honest, maybe they won't. But But they keep inviting us back, so obviously we're doing something right, and we're good-hearted people, obviously, and that's true and sincere. We typically give our shirt off our backs to anybody to help them, But anyway, the whole point is, what does your brand represent? We know when you're single, it's just solely on you. And the community sees you a certain way, right? The public sees you a certain way individually, but now that y'all married, people seeing y'all as one.
So it's not that if you're single, this doesn't happen for you. It happens for you in community. It happens in a marriage with the individual spouse.
Yeah.
But what happens is your spouse becomes a full-length mirror. My wife is me outside of me, looking back at me, talking to me about me. Single, I never have to answer the question, why am I like this? Or why do I keep doing this? Married, you outside of you, now looking back at you, talking to you about you, go, why do you keep doing that? And you can no longer run from yourself. Because that's not your spouse who is a different whole person asking you this question. This is actually you asking you this question.
I'm gonna stop right there. I don't want to say I disagree, but let me put some nuance to it. He said that when you're single, you never have to answer the question on what's wrong with me. I can see what his perspective is on that, right? Meaning, like, when you're dealing with multiple different people, you don't really have to answer to them. They just take what you give them up front. They never have to say, wait a minute, we've been together for this long. I've seen these things, but hey, now I'm seeing these other things that could critique you. But when you just face value, you just meeting people, you never have to answer to that because people just accepting you constantly over and over, or just new people. But when you with somebody for a long time and they start to see bad habits from you, they start to see different personality traits that may not align with them, then those things will be addressed. And then you have to actually sit back and reflect, okay, I didn't know this about myself, or maybe, dang, now I did know these things that I can get away with them, but now I have to answer to them because I care about this other person. Also, while I say, let me bring some nuance, and not that I disagree with the content creator, but there is a such thing that I always personally preach, which is personal development, right? I I think it is powerful to ask yourself what's wrong with you before you get married, right? And this way, you can come in as your best version, or at least on track to becoming your best version, versus coming into the marriage and still having a lot of things to deal with, because that can affect the process and the brand of you guys' marriage once y'all actually become one as a brand. And so, like I said, I can see why he said it or he framed it in that way. Um, but I don't want to say that's always the. I don't know if that's always the case, that you don't like inner reflect on different things that or the question of what's wrong with me. So that's the best way I can put it. So anyway, I'm gonna let him finish out. It's like a few more seconds, and we're gonna close it out.
And not resting until you finally give you an answer. Marriage.
So yeah, but the last part of that I think he was saying was, now when you together with somebody, that being that the questions are being asked, hey, what's wrong with me? You have the other party to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and now those questions can be answered. And you now, being that those questions being answered, you're not resting until you fix it. You're not resting until you get the answers of, hey, what's wrong with me, right? And I don't know what context he's saying what's wrong with me. I would say it just, it could be a situation of, from my experience, what's wrong with me could be, hey, why am I making the same mistakes over and over without addressing them, without getting better? And again, that's just an inner reflection that we need to do when it comes to personal development, and it comes to wanting to be the best version of yourself, so you can be the best version for you and your spouse's brand, right? We sticking to the brand. And so, like I said, man, I think a great statement, video clip from this content creator. Shout out to him. It's the second time I've did hit two of his clips. He come with it. But I will say, like I said, just make sure that if you don't know y'all brand, you and your wife, maybe sit down and talk about it. Hey, what do we represent together? How do we think people perceive us? like I said, I know for sure me and my wife had this conversation. Not super in depth, but it was funny. We was thinking, we was talking about it. It was like, I wonder how people see us. I wonder how our friends see us. Right. So that's healthy communication. Right. And I think that way, once y'all do understand what you guys' brand is, you can move a certain way in the public. You can move a certain way, in the world and just around your friends. Not to be fake anything, but just being conscious of what you guys represent, and that way people see you in the best light and things like that. So, anyway, hey, drop a comment below. Tell me what you think about the clip. Tell me what you think about my analysis, what the content creator said. If it's your first time watching, welcome to the Husband Code. Go ahead and subscribe. If you've been watching for a while, go ahead and subscribe. And hit that like button, actually, so we can shoot this video out for the algorithm so more people can see it. Hit the notification bell because I'm dropping videos every day. And until next time, I appreciate you guys. Tomorrow, we got the marriage news coming up. I'm excited. We're going to see what this is talking about. But until next time, peace.